I didn't even blink when Charlie Hoffman slid that budget report across his desk and said, "Brad, we're putting the executive VP position on hold indefinitely." Just like that. No eye contact, no explanation, like he was telling me the coffee machine was broken. What he didn't know was that I'd finally hit my limit. After 15 years of building his security company from nothing, I was done playing his games. My name is Bradley Henderson. I'm 49 years old, and this is the story of how I learned that corporate loyalty only works when it goes both ways. Look, I'm not the type who makes waves. Never have been. I spent 8 years in the Army as an engineer before this, learning to follow orders and take care of my people. When I got out in 1999, right before everything changed with 9/11s, I figured the corporate world worked the same way. Do your job, do it well, look out for your team, and leadership takes care of you, man. Was I wrong about that last part? I started at Summit Defense Solutions in 2002, when corporate America was scrambling to understand the new security threats. Charlie Hoffman hired me specifically to build their infrastructure security division from zero. Government facilities, emergency response systems, critical infrastructure protection. You name it. I developed the capabilities to handle it. 15 years later, Summit pulls in $45 million annually in federal and corporate contracts. I built that from the ground up. Here's what I actually did for them. In 2019, when that ransomware group tried to break into the federal courthouse network, my threat detection systems caught the breach attempt 3 days before it would have activated. Saved them about $4.2 million in damages and federal penalties. When that ice storm hit Dallas in 2021, I coordinated emergency security for 4 major facilities, keeping their operations running while competitors went dark for weeks. I know every federal security contractor from Austin to Houston. I know which background check companies deliver solid intel and which ones cut corners. When there's a real threat at 3 a.m., nobody calls Charlie Hoffman. They call me and I handle it. The thing is, Charlie always showed up for the victory lap. He'd walk into client meetings after I'd already solved all the problems, shake hands with agency directors, and act like he personally designed our security systems. Meanwhile, I'm the one pulling 16-hour shifts and missing my kids' school events to keep his contracts running smooth. Speaking of my kids, that's what made this whole situation critical. My son Andy just started his junior year studying engineering at UT. The tuition costs $35,000 per year, and we're looking at another 2 years plus graduate school. My daughter Sarah is a senior in high school, already taking SAT prep classes and visiting colleges. We're looking at application fees, campus visits, and then 4 more years of tuition starting next fall. My wife Jen's consulting business took a hit during the recession, and we're looking at refinancing our house just to stay current on everything. Plus, both our parents are getting older and starting to need more help with medical expenses. I'm 49 years old. This executive VP promotion wasn't about my ego anymore. It was about securing my family's financial future. For the past 4 years, Charlie kept telling me the promotion was almost ready. Budget reviews, board meetings, corporate restructuring, always some excuse. But he'd pat me on the shoulder and say, "Don't worry, Brad, you're my choice for executive VP. Just be patient while we get the paperwork done." I'd been patient for 4 years while doing executive VP work for director pay. Patient while training new hires who made more money than me because they had MBA degrees and 0 real-world experience. Patient while Charlie's daughter Ashley got fast-tracked to senior director after 18 months on the job. Yeah, Ashley Hoffman, fresh out of business school with her strategic management degree, never spent a day running security assessments or handling infrastructure threats. Kid couldn't secure a parking garage, but she's family, and that's all that matters at Summit. The meeting that changed everything happened on a Tuesday afternoon in November. Charlie's assistant called me around 2 p.m. saying he wanted to see me at 3:30 for my annual review and career discussion. I figured this was finally it. After 15 years, I was going to get the recognition I'd earned. I put on my good shirt, grabbed my performance folder, and walked into his office, ready to accept the promotion we'd been talking about for years. Charlie was reviewing contracts when I came in, doing that executive theater where they make you wait while they handle urgent business. Standard power play. I've seen it everywhere from military command to corporate boardrooms. "Have a seat, Brad," he said without looking up. "Need to discuss some changes." I sat down, put my folder on his desk and waited. Finally, he leaned back and gave me that look. The look bosses give you when they're about to deliver bad news but want to act like it's no big deal. "Brad, I'm going to be straight with you," he said. The board decided to postpone the executive VP expansion indefinitely. Market conditions, federal budget constraints. You understand how these things work. I just stared at him. Market conditions? This is the same company that spent $120,000 on new executive office furniture last quarter. The same company posting record profits for 3 straight years. Charlie, I said, keeping my voice level, we've been planning this promotion for months. The job description was already written. He shuffled his papers. Actually shuffled them like we were discussing office supply orders. Things change, Brad. Economic conditions require flexibility. The board needs to be conservative. What about adjusting my salary? I asked. I'm already doing the executive VP work. Shouldn't my pay match my responsibilities? That's when he looked away, started organizing those contracts again. Company policy keeps salaries aligned with official titles. Once the executive VP position gets approved, you'll be the first candidate. First candidate. Not even a guarantee anymore. Just first candidate. I sat there for a full minute letting that sink in. 15 years. 15 years of building his security empire, of making him look good in federal meetings, of missing family dinners and weekend plans to keep his government contracts running. And this was what I got for it. When do you think that might happen? I asked. Hard to say. Maybe next year, maybe longer. Depends on how the market shapes up. Next year, or maybe longer. Translation, never. That's when I understood the real situation. Charlie wasn't planning to promote me ever. He was planning to keep me right where I was, doing executive VP work for director pay until I retired or dropped dead. Why would he change anything? He had the perfect setup, all the results with none of the cost. I picked up my folder, stood up, and looked him in the eye. Thanks for letting me know, I said. My voice stayed calm, but something had changed inside me, something permanent. Don't worry about it, Brad, he said, already turning back to his contracts. You're valuable right where you are. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. The same line every boss gives when they want to keep taking advantage of you. I walked out of that office and closed the door behind me. The hallway looked the same as always, but something felt different. Like I was seeing the place clearly for the first time in years. When I got back to my desk, I didn't open any project files. Instead, I opened my email and started looking through messages I'd been ignoring for months. Recruiters, headhunters, former colleagues who'd moved on to better jobs, messages that all said pretty much the same thing. You're too good for Summit. Come work somewhere that appreciates talent. I'd always deleted those emails before. Loyalty, you know? But sitting there staring at my computer screen, I started thinking maybe loyalty was supposed to work both ways. One email caught my attention right away. Subject line was simple. Copy and conversation from Stephen Patterson, CEO of Apex Strategic Services. I knew the name. Everyone in Dallas security knows Apex. They started as a small protective services company, but in the last 5 years, they'd grown into serious competition for the big players. Government contracts, major corporate accounts, even some of the homeland security work that used to go automatically to companies like Summit. Word around town was that Patterson ran things differently, paid well, treated people right, actually listened to his security managers instead of just telling them what to do. I clicked on the email. Brad, I've been watching your work at Summit for years. Your threat response record and infrastructure expertise are the best in Texas. If you're ever interested in talking about leadership opportunities, I'd love to buy you coffee. No pressure. Just curious about your thoughts on where the industry is heading. No pressure. But the thing was, it didn't feel like a sales pitch. Most recruiters send you these generic messages about exciting opportunities without even knowing what you do. This guy had done his homework. I stared at that email for about 10 minutes, then closed my laptop and went home. Jen was in the kitchen making dinner while the kids handled homework at the table. Normal Tuesday night routine. But I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. How was your meeting with Charlie? Jen asked without looking up from the stove, about what I expected. I said, which was true in a way. She gave me that look, 25 years of marriage, and she can read me like a book. That bad, huh? Sarah looked up from her calculus homework. Dad, is everything okay? That's when it hit me. My daughter shouldn't have to worry about whether her father's okay because of some corporate politics. She should be focused on being 17 and figuring out which colleges she wants to visit next year. Everything's fine, sweetheart, I said. Just work stuff. But it wasn't fine, and Jen knew it. After the kids went to bed, we sat on the back porch with a couple of beers, and I told her what really happened in Charlie's office. 15 years, she said when I finished. 15 years. And they won't even give you the title for work you're already doing. That's about the size of it. She was quiet for a minute, looking out at our backyard. We bought this house 13 years ago when Andy was 8 and Sarah was 4. 4 bedrooms, 2-car garage, good school district, the American dream, Texas style. But dreams cost money, and money requires a steady paycheck with room for growth. You know what I think? Jen said finally. I think you should call that Patterson guy. I looked at her. You sure about that? I've been loyal to Summit longer than we've lived in this house. But loyalty's got to work both ways, Brad. If they don't see your value after 15 years, maybe it's time to find someone who does. I spent the rest of that week thinking about it. Wednesday morning, I watched Charlie walk past my office without even nodding. Thursday, he was in meetings all day with Ashley, probably planning her next promotion. Friday, he left early for a golf weekend while I stayed late, handling a security alert at the courthouse. The next morning, I responded to Stephen Patterson's email. Mr. Patterson, I appreciate you reaching out. I'd be interested in that conversation when works for you. He replied within an hour. How about Saturday morning? There's a diner called Murphy's on Elm Street that makes great coffee and keeps things quiet. 9 a.m. work. Saturday morning, I drove over to Murphy's. It's one of those old school places where security contractors grab breakfast before heading to job sites. Red vinyl booths, coffee that could strip paint, and waitresses who've seen it all. Perfect place for a private conversation. Patterson was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with a cup of coffee and what looked like project plans spread out on the table. He stood up when he saw me coming. Average height, maybe mid-40s, with the kind of firm handshake that tells you he spent time doing actual security work instead of just sitting in boardrooms. Bradley Henderson, I said. Stephen Patterson, thanks for coming out on a Saturday. We shook hands and sat down. Stephen folded up the plans and set them aside. Hope you don't mind if I skip the small talk, he said. I've got a problem, and I think you might be the solution. I liked him already. Straight shooter. Apex is growing faster than we can handle, he continued. We've got 6 major federal contracts starting in the next 4 months, plus emergency response agreements with 4 agencies. I need someone who can coordinate all that without everything falling apart. Sounds familiar, I said. He smiled. I bet it does. Look, I'll be honest with you. I've been trying to hire you away from Summit for 2 years, but I figured you were happy there. Then I heard through the grapevine that things might not be as good as they seem. Word travels fast, huh? Security is a small world, especially around Dallas. People notice when good managers get passed over for promotions they've earned. I sipped my coffee and looked around the diner. A couple of guys in work clothes were talking about a job site problem. Familiar conversation, familiar world. What exactly are you offering? I asked. Stephen leaned forward, Executive VP of Regional Operations, full authority over project coordination, team building, and client relationships. Starting salary is $125,000 plus performance bonuses that actually mean something. Health benefits for your whole family. And here's the best part, profit sharing. When Apex does well, you do well. I nearly choked on my coffee. $125,000 was almost $37,000 more than I was making at Summit, and profit sharing. Charlie Hoffman wouldn't share a sandwich, let alone company profits. There's more, Stephen said. I know you've got kids heading to college. Apex has an education assistance program. We'll cover up to $12,000 per year in tuition costs for employees' children. Now he really had my attention. Andy's tuition was going to cost us $35,000 this year, and Sarah would be starting college next fall. That assistance program could make a real difference. Why me? I asked. You could hire someone younger, cheaper. Because I don't want someone younger and cheaper, Stephen said. I want someone who knows what he's doing, someone who can handle a crisis at 3 a.m. without needing hand-holding, someone whose team actually respects him instead of just following orders because he's the boss. He pulled out a single sheet of paper and slid it across the table. This is our safety record for the past 3 years, he said. We're good, but we could be better. Your teams at Summit have the best safety numbers in Texas. That's not luck. That's leadership. I looked at the numbers. Apex was definitely solid. But Stephen was right. They could improve, and I knew I could help them get there. What's the timeline on this? I asked. I'd like to have someone in place within 2 weeks, Stephen said. But for the right person, I'm flexible. He stood up and left a $20 on the table for coffee that probably cost $6. Think about it over the weekend. Call me Monday if you're interested. If not, no hard feelings. And this conversation never happened. I drove home thinking about Jen's words. Loyalty's got to work both ways. That night, I sat in my home office looking at our family budget spreadsheet, Andy's tuition, Sarah's college prep costs, the mortgage, Jen's business expenses, both sets of parents getting older, all the regular costs of a middle-class family trying to stay middle class in an economy that kept making it harder. Then I thought about Charlie Hoffman shuffling papers when he told me to keep doing what I was doing, the way he looked right through me like I was office furniture. I picked up my phone and dialed Stephen Patterson's number. Stephen, it's Brad Henderson. If that offer is still good, I'm interested. It's good, he said. Welcome to Apex Strategic Services. Monday morning, I walked into Summit Defense Solutions with my resignation letter in my jacket pocket. 2 weeks' notice, professional and clean. No point burning bridges even when those bridges were already falling down. I had a normal morning. Checked on the courthouse security review, looked over protocol updates for the federal building contract, answered a few emails from field teams. Just another day at the office, except it was going to be my last normal day for a while. Around 10 a.m., I knocked on Charlie's door. Come in, he called out. I walked in and sat down without waiting for an invitation. Charlie looked up from his computer screen, probably checking his stock portfolio or something equally important. What's up, Brad? I pulled out the letter and placed it on his desk. I'm submitting my resignation, Charlie. 2 weeks' notice? Standard procedure? Charlie stared at the letter like it was written in Chinese. Then he looked up at me with this confused expression, like I just told him the building was on fire. Resignation. Brad, what are you talking about? I'm taking a position with Apex Strategic Services, Executive VP of Regional Operations. My last day here will be Friday, November 22nd. Now he was paying attention. Charlie picked up the letter and read it, his face getting redder with each line. Apex Strategic Services. They're our competition, Brad. Direct rivals. They're the company that offered me what you wouldn't, I said. Respect, proper pay, and a chance to actually lead instead of just take orders. Brad, let's not be hasty here, he said, putting on that fake concerned voice he used when clients threatened to leave. If this is about the executive VP promotion, we can work something out. Maybe speed up the timeline. Charlie, you told me Tuesday that timeline might be next year or longer. Today's Monday, and suddenly you can speed it up. He shifted in his chair. Look, I'll be honest. The board's been conservative about expansion, but if it means keeping you here, keeping me here to do executive VP work for director pay, while your daughter gets fast-tracked to senior management, that hit home. Charlie's face went from red to pale pretty quick. Ashley's situation is different, he said. Yeah, it is different. She's family. I'm just the guy who's kept this company profitable for 15 years. Charlie leaned forward, trying to look sincere. Brad, you're valuable to Summit, more valuable than you realize. What's Apex offering that we can't match? $125,000 to start, plus profit sharing and education assistance for my kids. Charlie blinked. $125,000. That's a significant increase. It's what the job's worth, Charlie. It's what I should have been making here 3 years ago. He was quiet for a minute, probably calculating how much it would cost to match Apex's offer versus how much it would cost to replace me. I could see the wheels turning. Give me 48 hours, he said finally. Let me talk to the board, see what we can do. I stood up. Charlie, I already gave Apex my answer. The decision's made. Brad, don't do this. We're like family here, family. That was rich coming from the man who'd been lying to me for 4 years while promoting his actual family. Family doesn't lie to each other for years, I said. Family doesn't take advantage of loyalty. And family sure doesn't tell someone to keep doing what they're doing after breaking promises. I walked toward the door, then turned back. Oh, and Charlie, you might want to start looking for replacements. I'm not the only one who's been unhappy around here. That afternoon, word got around the office pretty quick. Security's a small world, and news travels fast. By 2 p.m., 3 of my key people had stopped by my office. Daniel Murphy came in first. Dan's been my operations coordinator for 6 years. Knows every contractor and federal contact in Texas. The kind of guy who can solve problems before they become emergencies. Is it true? He asked, closing the door behind him. Yeah, it's true. 2 weeks' notice as of this morning. He sat down in the chair across from my desk. Where you headed? Apex Strategic Services, Executive VP of Regional Operations. Dan nodded slowly. They're good people. I've worked with some of their teams on joint projects. Professional outfit. Dan, you know I can't recruit you while I'm still employed here. That wouldn't be right. I know, he said. But hypothetically speaking, if someone were to leave Summit and go to work for Apex, would there be opportunities for experienced coordinators? Hypothetically speaking, I'd imagine Apex is always looking for good people. Good to know, Dan said, standing up. Congratulations, Brad. It's about time someone recognized what you're worth. 20 minutes later, Lisa Thompson knocked on my door. Lisa's our best intelligence analyst. Graduated from Texas A&M with honors in security studies. Worked her way up from assistant to senior analyst in 4 years. Smart as hell and twice as hardworking. But Charlie and his crew never gave her the credit she deserved. So you're really leaving, she asked. Friday's my last day. Can't say I blame you. I've been watching them pass you over for years while taking credit for your work. Lisa sat down and looked around my office. You know, I've been thinking about making a change myself. This place doesn't seem to value analytical excellence the way it should. Where would you go? I asked, though I had a feeling I knew the answer. Well, if Apex Strategic Services is hiring executive VPs, they probably need good analysts too. I'd imagine they do. I might give them a call this week. You know, just to see what opportunities are out there. Timothy Rodriguez was the third visitor. Tim runs our safety and compliance programs, and he's the reason Summit has the best safety record in North Texas. Former Army MP, careful about details, doesn't tolerate shortcuts that put people at risk. Heard the news, he said, settling into the chair. About time, thanks, Tim. Question for you. Apex's safety record is solid, but not excellent. They could use someone with experience upgrading their protocols. I'd agree with that. Think they'd be interested in hiring a compliance coordinator with 8 years of experience and a perfect inspection record. I think any smart company would be interested in that. Tim smiled. I'll keep that in mind. By Wednesday, rumors were flying around the office. Charlie was making the rounds, trying to do damage control, but you could see the panic in his eyes. He'd never had to run operations without me backing him up, and I think it was finally hitting him what that meant. Thursday morning, Dan Murphy walked into Charlie's office and submitted his resignation. 2 hours later, Lisa Thompson did the same thing. By lunch, Tim Rodriguez had followed suit. 3 of my key people gone in one morning. Charlie called an emergency meeting with his senior staff, but the damage was already done. Word was getting out that the backbone of Summit's operations was walking out the door. My phone started ringing around 2 p.m. Charlie, of course. Brad, we need to talk. This is getting out of hand. What's getting out of hand, Charlie? You know damn well what I'm talking about. 3 more resignations today. All your people. They're not my people, Charlie. They're professionals who make their own decisions about where they want to work. This is sabotage. No. This is what happens when you treat good employees badly for years. They find places that treat them better. Brad, please, can we meet? Can we work something out? I looked around my office, already half-packed, 15 years of work fitting into a few cardboard boxes. Charlie, I already worked something out with Apex Strategic Services. My last day is Friday, just like I told you Monday. The board authorized me to offer you $115,000 plus benefits. Executive VP title, effective immediately. That's a generous offer, I said, but I already accepted another position. Brad, Charlie, you had 15 years to make that offer. You had 4 years after I started asking about promotion. You even had Tuesday afternoon when I was sitting right there in your office, ready to stay if you just treated me fairly. I hung up and went back to packing. Friday morning, I cleaned out my desk, said goodbye to the people who were staying, and walked out of Summit Defense Solutions for the last time. In my rearview mirror, I could see the building getting smaller, but I wasn't looking back with regret. I was looking forward to Monday morning at Apex Strategic Services. Monday morning at Apex Strategic Services felt like stepping into a different world. Clean offices, updated equipment, and people who actually seemed happy to be there. Stephen Patterson met me at the front desk with a cup of coffee and a genuine smile. Welcome to Apex, Brad. Ready to get started? My office was twice the size of what I'd had at Summit, with windows that actually opened and a view of downtown Dallas. But the best part was the whiteboard on the wall. completely blank, waiting for me to start building something new. The first week was mostly meetings and getting familiar with Apex's current projects. They had good systems, but I could see places where my experience would make a difference. Better coordination between teams, improved contractor relationships, more efficient scheduling, the kind of improvements that save time and money without cutting corners on safety. By the end of my second week, Dan Murphy, Lisa Thompson, and Tim Rodriguez had all started at Apex. Stephen didn't ask any questions about the timing. He just welcomed them aboard and put them to work. That's the kind of leadership that builds loyalty instead of demanding it. Meanwhile, things were falling apart at Summit faster than I'd expected. The first sign of trouble came 3 weeks after I left. A friend who still worked there told me they'd missed a critical security update on the courthouse account because nobody knew which federal contact to call when the original assessment came back flagged. Simple problem that I could have solved with a phone call, but the new guy Charlie hired to replace me didn't have those relationships. That delay cost Summit $18,000 in contract penalties. 2 weeks later, it was the federal building contract. A terrorist threat required emergency security upgrade. But without Tim's safety protocols and Dan's coordination experience, they couldn't mobilize teams fast enough. The agency pulled them off that contract and gave it to a competitor, Apex Strategic Services. Stephen called me into his office that Thursday. Brad, the federal agency just offered us the downtown building security contract. It's the one Summit lost. You know that operation better than anyone. Think we can handle it? We can handle it, I said. Give me Lisa for intelligence support and Tim to manage safety protocols. We'll have teams working by Monday. We finished that security upgrade 3 days ahead of schedule and $22,000 under budget. The federal project manager told Stephen it was the smoothest emergency response he'd seen in 10 years. Word travels fast in security contracting. Within a month, Apex had 4 new contracts from clients who'd gotten frustrated with Summit's declining service. Each one was a project I'd worked on before. Clients who trusted me enough to follow me to a new company. Charlie started calling again around that time. Brad, I need to ask you something, he said when I answered the phone. Are you actively recruiting my employees? Charlie, I'm not recruiting anybody, but if people call me asking about opportunities at Apex, I'm not going to lie to them about what it's like to work here. 7 people have resigned in the past 6 weeks. 7, all citing better opportunities as their reason. Maybe that should tell you something about the opportunities you're providing. This isn't sustainable, Brad. Summit has been part of Dallas security for 18 years. And it could be part of it for another 18 years if you started treating your employees like assets instead of expenses. There was a long pause. What would it take to get you back? I looked around my office at Apex. Project schedules running on time, safety reports with 0 incidents, team meetings where people actually contributed ideas instead of just nodding along with whatever the boss said. Charlie, there's no amount of money that would bring me back to Summit. This isn't about salary anymore. It's about respect. Brad, Charlie, you had 15 years to figure out that respect matters. Now it's too late. The calls stopped after that, but the industry gossip didn't. Word was getting around that Summit was struggling to fulfill their existing contracts. They'd hired 3 different operations managers in 4 months, and none of them lasted more than 6 weeks. Charlie was spending more time doing damage control with clients than actually running the company. Meanwhile, Apex was thriving. 6 months after I started, Stephen Patterson promoted me to Senior Vice President with a 15% raise and expanded responsibilities for all Southwest operations. The promotion came with a corner office and a parking space with my name on it. More importantly, it came with the respect I'd been earning for 15 years but never receiving. The same month I got promoted, I heard through industry contacts that Summit had lost 6 major contracts and laid off 30% of their workforce. Charlie Hoffman was trying to sell the company to a larger firm, but the due diligence process kept revealing problems with their capabilities and client relationships. I didn't feel sorry for Charlie. I felt sorry for the good people still working there who were paying the price for his mistakes. Paul Williams, who'd been Summit's lead field coordinator for 9 years, called me around that time. Brad, I hate to bother you, but I'm thinking about making a change. Things are pretty chaotic since you left. Charlie's hired 5 different operations managers in 8 months, and none of them understand how the systems actually work. What happened to the latest one? Quit yesterday? Said he couldn't manage operations without proper support systems and institutional knowledge. I knew exactly what he meant. Operations management isn't just about reading schedules and making phone calls. It's about relationships, knowing how things work, and understanding how all the pieces fit together. You can't hire that off the street or learn it from a manual. Apex is always looking for experienced coordinators, I told Paul. If you're interested, send me your resume. Paul Williams started at Apex 2 weeks later. A year after I left Summit, the industry magazine Southwest Security Today ran a feature story about Apex's emergency response capabilities and rapid growth in the federal contracting sector. The article mentioned me by name as the executive behind the company's expansion and mentioned our industry-leading safety record and client satisfaction ratings. Jen cut out the article and put it on the refrigerator next to Sarah's honor roll certificate and Andy's Dean's List letter from UT. Family achievements all in a row. That same week, Andy called with great news. He'd been selected for a prestigious engineering internship program that would help pay for his senior year and provide valuable experience for graduate school applications. Sarah had been accepted to 3 good universities with partial scholarships, including her first choice. Between our new insurance coverage, Apex's education assistance program, and the scholarships, we were looking at college costs that wouldn't require us to mortgage our future. Andy's total education cost us less than $18,000 out of pocket. Sarah's acceptance letters meant we could actually afford to send her to the school she really wanted to attend. 2 years after leaving Summit, I got a call from a former client, the director of federal building security I'd worked with for over a decade. Brad, I wanted to give you a heads up. We're not renewing Summit's contract next year. Charlie's team missed 3 security assessments in the past 6 months, and their response times have gotten unacceptable. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I meant it. Where are you thinking of going? Already decided. Apex Strategic Services. We've been watching your work since you moved there. Best decision we could make. That conversation made me think about something Stephen Patterson had told me during my first week at Apex. Brad, I didn't hire you away from Summit because I wanted to hurt Charlie Hoffman. I hired you because I wanted to build something better. Sometimes the best revenge isn't trying to destroy your former employer. It's succeeding so completely that their failures become obvious by comparison. He was right. Summit's problems weren't because I'd sabotaged them or actively worked against them. Their problems were because Charlie had built a company culture that didn't value the people who actually did the work. When those people found better opportunities, they left. That's not sabotage. That's just business. Jen and I were sitting on the back porch one evening, watching the sunset and talking about our plans for Sarah's graduation party, when she asked me if I ever regretted leaving Summit. Not for a second, I said. Best decision I ever made, even though it took 15 years. Especially because it took 15 years, I said. If I'd left earlier, I might have wondered if I gave up too easily or if things would have gotten better. Now I know I gave them every chance to do the right thing. I stayed loyal until it became clear that loyalty wasn't going both ways. Charlie Hoffman learned an expensive lesson about the difference between managing people and leading them. Problem is, he learned it too late to save his company. Last I heard, Summit Defense Solutions was bought out by a national firm for about 30 cents on the dollar. Charlie stayed on as a regional manager, basically the same job I'd been doing for him, but with someone else making the real decisions. The security industry in Dallas is competitive but small. Everyone knows everyone, and reputations matter. Apex Strategic Services has a reputation for treating people right, delivering quality work, and standing behind their commitments. That reputation starts at the top with Stephen Patterson, but it's maintained by people like me, Dan, Lisa, Tim, and Paul, experienced professionals who know what good leadership looks like because we've seen the alternative. As for me, I learned something important at 49 years old. Your career isn't about the years you put into a company. It's about finding a place that invests in you too. Respect, opportunity, fair pay, and the chance to grow instead of just survive. The security industry taught me that loyalty works both ways. When it doesn't, it's time to find somewhere it does. Sometimes the biggest risk isn't leaving a bad situation. It's staying in one that slowly kills your potential while convincing yourself that patience will eventually pay off. Loyalty without respect is just exploitation with a prettier name. Real partnerships require both sides to show up. True success isn't measured by how long you stay loyal to people who don't deserve it. It's measured by having the courage to recognize your worth and act on it before it's too late. The best way to win against those who undervalue you isn't to fight them directly. It's to build something so much better that their mediocrity becomes impossible to ignore.